Hold the ball! What did you see, umpire? Howdy everyone. Here we are, we're outside. Julie's helping me out and I'm just practicing for footy season. Actually, and what I wanted to talk to everybody about is nothing to do with footy at all, but I was awake really early this morning and I was reading Hebrews and reading from chapter 13, and something just really struck my mind and I wanted to share it with everybody. I've done a little bit of looking since this thought struck my mind, and Leo the Great in the year 440 AD said this about Jesus. He was not sacrificed in the temple and he was not even within the city, but instead outside, in fact outside the camp. And the cross of Christ may not be the altar of the temple, but in fact it's the altar for the world. I thought, what a great saying. And you know, we see differences in things that are inside and outside. And I don't know if you've ever driven from North Adelaide through to Salisbury Elizabeth, but you notice the really leafy, probably big houses in North Adelaide, and you get to Elizabeth, a town that was settled much later, where the houses are smaller, not as fantastic looking, and definitely probably a different socio-economic environment. Or the same thing happens if it's Norwood to Port Adelaide, or different places. There's probably a difference in house values, or we know there's a difference in house values, maybe a difference in the incomes in those places. And when I was awake this morning, I was reading in Hebrews chapter 13, and I want to share with you just 3 verses from there, from Hebrews chapter 13, 11 through to 14. It says this: under the old system, the high priest brought the blood of animals into the holy place to sacrifice for sin, and the bodies of the animals were burned outside the camp. So also Jesus suffered and died outside the city gates to make his people holy, by no means of his own blood. So let us go out to him, let us go outside the camp and bear the disgrace he bore, for this world is not our permanent home. We are looking for the home that's yet to come. And I thought, what an amazing thing. You know, it was a fringe benefit of being a Jewish priest was when animals were sacrificed, they got to eat the animal after. They got to use the meat and eat that animal. But there was one exception. There was a Day of Atonement that happened once every year, and that animal was sacrificed annually for the sins of the people, and it was required that that carcass was disposed of outside of the camp. Outside of the camp in Bible times is often considered a really ordinary sort of place. It was a place where people were sent if they had a disease, if they had a skin disease especially, if they had a serious illness of some kind, or even if they'd been in contact with a dead body somewhere, they were sent outside of the camp. They were moved outside of the camp. If you were to be executed for a crime, you were sent, it was done outside of the camp. And the context of the scripture, outside of the camp, was outside of the city walls. And remember, the Israelites, Jerusalem was a home city for the Israelites, but it was outside the city walls where Jesus suffered and went to the cross. When Jesus was expelled from the city of Jerusalem, the city was no longer holy, but it was a place outside the city became holy ground. Why? Because the presence of Jesus was there. You see, it's the presence of Jesus that makes people holy. It's not about where you live, where we were, but it's about, is Jesus with us? And the good news is we don't have to be in any inner circle other than the inner circle of Jesus. You know, it doesn't matter whether you live in North Adelaide or Norwood or Port Wakefield or Balaclava. It makes no difference. What makes a difference is, are we in the inner circle of Jesus? And so I want to invite everybody to come outside with him and be in his inner circle. Have a great day, everybody. Know that Jesus is there for us. Thanks very much. See you soon.